Hi and welcome to Distilling in Australia. My name is Nick and today we're going to be doing the grand tour of the newly established Hearts Distillery or newly licensed Hearts Distillery. But before we get into that, there are a couple of other things I want to go through in relation to the license and the application process. But first, as always, here is 5 seconds of your life you're never going to get back. Okay, so the license has been issued and I was interested to know if there's going to be any conditions or limitations in the license. It does specify that I must, my license covers products in excess of 10%, so minimum that I can do is 10%, so everything that I manufacture must be over 10%. There is one other condition, because I set my distillery up as a trust or under a trust. The ATO wants 28 days notice if the trustee of that trust is going to be changed, so they can process that person and vet that new entity, whatever it might be, to make sure that it complies with all the requirements. So other than that, they're the only two stipulations on the license. I have to say I was expecting something a little bit more decorative that I might be able to frame and put up on the wall, but alas, it's a government issued certificate. I have it in my hand here. Very, very straightforward to say that Hearts Distillery is a license with a manufacturer's license and an establishment license. Now, the manufacturer's license covers the actual distillation process, and the establishment is the actual premises. So I must confine all my manufacturing and storage and processing to the area that I've designated. And the reason for that is that the ATO has unrestricted 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week access to this area if they want to come and do an inspection or audit or make sure that I'm doing everything correctly and as per the requirements of the ATO. So that's what it all comes down to with the actual license. I'm going to go back to the site plan again because this is where I tripped up, and I did fail miserably on that. And those who've been watching the series will know that I made a mistake when it came to the site plan. I actually submitted 3 site plans because I wasn't exactly sure what they were after, and it did sort of give me the information, but I didn't know how detailed it had to be. The one they accepted, or one they attached to the license, was a single sheet of paper to scale that designated with a red border the actual area that I will be operating in. Now, because I live in a domestic dwelling and I'm going to be doing this in my garage, it was my garage that is the designated area. So the tax office has unrestricted access to my garage. Okay, they can't access the rest of the premises, but they can access my garage. So if you've been watching the series, you've been knowing that I'm about micro distilling. I'm not out to be a major player. I'm not out to reinvent the wheel. I'm just out to have something to give me a hobby and an interest and make a bit of money and do it correctly and legally for my retirement, because I'm a project guy and I need a project. And hell, this has been a bit of fun. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this whole thing. Now, if you're enjoying the video, speaking of enjoying, and what a segue, and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps the channel, doesn't cost you anything. You know, and every now and again, if you want to find me, it's just a bit easier to get back and have a look and find the videos. Also, on the website, distillingin australia.com, every single video is listed there chronologically. So if you want to go back through and look at certain aspects of my process, by all means, you can just go into that website and scroll through the videos and you'll find the one that you're looking for. It's all there, so feel free to get in there. And hell, if you can be a Patreon and join the Patreons, then that would be great as well. Any support is welcome. I'm just a working guy like the rest of you, and I do have a full-time job, so I'm doing this as a bit of a side venture for at least probably the next 5 years, until such time as I can build it up to the level as per my 5-year plan. So just a little bit of tip, getting back to the site plan. If you have a larger property, just make sure that you designate all the areas that you're going to be using as part of your distillery for storage, for manufacturing, for bottling, every aspect of your production process. You've got to designate that on your site plan. And the reason for that is that once you are issued your license entitles you to warehouse and store any all of the produce that you manufacture. So it doesn't matter if you're a 100 litre a guy year or a 100 million litre a guy year. You don't need to go and get a warehouse storage license unless you're going to store your produce at another location. So it's as long as you designate all your areas, and you can store and manufacture within those areas as long as you've specified it on your plan. The other thing is with the license is that you don't actually have to get permission from the ATO to buy a still. That is embedded in your license. So now I'm free to go out and buy a still without having to go to the ATO and getting permission to do it. So that's embedded in the license. So there are a couple of bits and pieces that I thought were interesting and something that I should share so people understood what was required and why it was required. Now, speaking of still, I am currently researching stills. I have a pretty good idea of what it is that I'm after. I would like to get one locally from a local manufacturer or supplier, but it is an economic decision. As much as I would love to buy locally, if I've got to buy it in from overseas, well, that's what I will do. But if there's anyone out there who is interested in maybe providing a quote or a price for a still, please contact me at admin@heartsdistillery.com.au and I'm happy to have a chat to you and see if we can do a deal. I'm not expecting a freebie. I'm more than happy to pay for it. I know that if you're going to be a manufacturer here in Australia, you've got your rent, you've got your insurances, you've got everything else you need to pay for, plus materials and your time. So by all means, not after a freebie, but certainly if you want to have a go and give me a quote, I'm more than happy to chat to you, and just flick me an email at that email address. Okay, another thing is getting a few people asking me about question 21 in the application. Now, you don't have to have actual distilling experience, but you've got to demonstrate that you've at least self-educated yourself and done the research. So that's how I addressed it. And that was the only way that I could think to supplement the application by demonstrating that I had done a lot of research and I had self-educated and I understood all the concepts of safety and legalities and obligations and all those sorts of areas, because the ATO doesn't assess the application on a question basis. So like they won't say to you, oh, question 21, you've got that wrong, denied. What they will say to you is that, yeah, question 21, you're a little bit weak on that, can you give us more information? And it's about being able to access the information. So that can be through other distillers. There's any number of areas that you can put down, books, anything like that you can put down to demonstrate that you have access to knowledge that will enable you to distill. So don't stress on individual questions on your application. Just answer them one at a time and you'll get through it. And if they do have questions, they will get back to you. Mine obviously were sufficient. Now, whether it was sufficient at 51% or sufficient at 99%, I don't know. But but at least my whole application was sufficient for me to get issued my license, only with the one hiccup, which was a site plan that was woefully undercooked. So that's really all I wanted to say on that. I'll just check my notes. I'm just going to make sure that I've gone through thing. Oh yeah, look. Oh yes, one thing. The site plan, you don't have to have it professionally drawn. Okay, so you don't have to employ a draftsman to draft it all up for you. If you can use a tape measure and a ruler and you understand scale, then you can draw it up yourself. You just got to designate aspect, you know, north, south, east, west, your borders, how long they are, and setbacks of the buildings, and just highlight, you know, each particular area that you're going to be using for storage and manufacturing and bottling and all the rest of it. You don't have to designate what area is what, you just have to designate that these are the areas you're going to be operating in. But just make sure also that security is a very big aspect of your application. So if you're going to designate these areas, you've got to demonstrate, and I provided lots of photos, and I would suggest you do the same, but provide lots of photos and give them very specific and clear information about how you're going to secure your product. Because remember, if your produce is stolen, you are still liable for the tax. So just understand that. So, you know, if you've got 1,000 litres, that's, you know, that's the best part of $89,000 worth of tax. 1,000 litres of pure alcohol I'm talking about, not a distillate, but 1,000 litres at 100%. Yeah, that's $89,000 worth of excise duty that you'd be responsible for if that 1,000 litres got stolen. So just be aware of that. Now, the other thing I'm looking at the moment is also insurance. I'm in touch with my insurance company, so we're sorting that out. Obviously, if the insurance is prohibitive, well, you know, I'm going to can the whole thing, because, you know, for what I'm going to do, and they're going to give me a, you know, $3,000 a year insurance bill to do my little bit. Well, you know, I've got to decide whether or not I'm prepared to pay that excess to be able to do it. But, you know, one step at a time, one issue at a time, and you know, my wife would kill me if anything happened and we ended up not being insured. So I would suggest that you take precautions out there and just make sure that you have consulted your insurance and you are covered, because if you're not, you could be in a world of pain, and that would be terrible, disastrous for everyone. Excuse me. Okay, so let's see, I think that's about it. Hand-drawn equipment. Yeah, so, yeah, okay. So now for the big tour. All right, so sit down, grab yourself a dark and stormy, and I'll take you on the grand tour of Heart's Distillery. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so here we are. This is Heart's Distillery. Now, for those of you who have been following me, you will know that my whole purpose of this was to be a micro distiller. You know, I'm talking 5 years down the track, being able to produce 100 bottles a week. That's micro, okay? I mean, where I will have no impact on the market whatsoever producing that level of product, but that's what I'm out to do. So these four walls is Heart's Distillery. This is the area that I've designated on my application to be my distillery, and so this is it. So I have my wet area over here. I'm going to be having a 32 amp outlet over here. I'm going to be running 7,000 watts through my still, so the still will sit over here. This fridge here is going, so obviously it's a bit of a mess at the moment, but it'll be cleaned up and made to be nice and clean and sanitary. I'm going to be putting some ventilation shafts in the ceilings to make sure that we've got really good ventilation, so we don't get a build-up of fumes in here, whether they're carbon dioxide from the fermentation vats or alcohol vapors. If I'm distilling and we have some sort of malfunction, we'll make sure that we've got good ventilation. There will be fire extinguishers, one over here in this corner and one over by the pedestrian door, and there'll be alcohol resistant foam fire extinguishers I've gone through in other videos. So yeah, all those things will be taken account of. So not a huge area. I'm a micro, I'm proud of that, and you know, this is going to be my little area, my little den of iniquity where I can have a bit of fun and play around and experiment, and you can come along with me as I experiment with different types of products that I'm going to try and develop and nail down some really good recipes and get some really nice products out there. So thanks for watching. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It costs you nothing. It helps the channel, and it's just a way of you keeping track if you want to. Also on distillingaustralia.com, all the videos are listed in chronological order, so if you want to go back and have a look at those in the correct order, you can work through them from 1 through to 12 now. And I'll keep uploading videos to Patreons. Yes, I've been a bit slack on. I've been very slack about getting more information up to you guys. To be honest, we've had some issues at work, and we've had to relocate our premises where I work. And yes, I do work full time, so I work 40-50 hours a week in a full-time job. So I'm doing this in my spare time. So that's now settled down. That's been a whole month that it's, we've just been putting in some horrendous hours. So that's now done and dusted. So that'll give me a bit more time to work on this and get this happening a bit more regularly. Spreadsheets. I'm working on my spreadsheets as well. Now that's an interesting factor. In your application, you don't actually have to provide the spreadsheets or your accounting process. You just have to tell them how you're going to do it. And so I'm working on that as well, because you've got to also comply with the requirements of the ATO for their minimum standards. So that's another thing that I'm working on as well. So yeah, there's a few things still happening. Certainly looking into the still aspect. I've got to nail down the insurance, as I said before, but yeah, it's going forward. I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. That's all for today. Stay safe, stay legal. Distilling alcohol is illegal in Australia unless you hold the appropriate licenses and permits. I am not a lawyer, and the contents of this video are not intended to be legal advice. Do not rely on any information contained in this video, and seek your own legal professional advice before making any decisions. Be aware, the Australian Tax Office and the local law enforcement agencies will be taking interest in this channel due to its content. Please keep this in mind before posting any comments. Any comments posted are the opinion of the person posting and not of this channel. Let's get started.